Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. So imagine, you're playing a really hyper-competitive multiplayer video game.
Oh man, the stress.
Right. You're in the final, just chaotic moments of a match, and you press the button to dodge an attack, and absolutely nothing happens.
The worst feeling.
The absolute worst. The game just, it keeps flowing, you keep playing, and then, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 seconds later, a massive lag spike hits the server.
Yep, suddenly everyone's teleporting.
Exactly. The game rewinds, and your character just drops dead from something that supposedly happened in the past.
Just brutal.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that bewildering, super frustrating lag, it just hit the Six Nations finale in real life.
It really did.
But before we get into the thick of how that pitchside chaos actually unfolded, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button to Rugby Obsession. Because if you want to understand these sort of invisible mechanics of the sport and see beyond the post-match shouting matches, subscribing guarantees you never miss our breakdowns.
Yeah, and I mean, that post-match discourse, it can get incredibly toxic, incredibly fast.
Oh,
Because when fans and players are left in this vacuum of information, they just fill it with outrage.
Which is exactly why our mission today is to cut through that noise. We are, setting a highly positive, celebratory tone for this deep dive.
Love that.
Yeah, we're zeroing in on a single, heavily debated moment from that massive Six Nations finale between France and England. And to do this, we're relying on the insights of former Test referee Nigel Owens.
A legend.
Truly. We're specifically breaking down his recent analysis on his show, Whistle Watch. We're looking at a crucial late-game penalty awarded by referee Nika Amashukuli.
Right.
So our goal isn't to dwell on the fan outrage. We are here to celebrate the correct application of the rules and unpack the mechanics of why the right call was actually made.
And, it requires a massive shift in perspective to look at a controversial, delayed whistle and see a triumph of modern officiating.
It's not the usual takeaway.
No, it's really not. But when you slow down and examine the sheer cognitive load placed on a referee in the final 10 minutes of a Six Nations decider, you start to see the safety nets working exactly as they were engineered to.
So let's set the physical scene on the pitch to understand that cognitive load. To truly appreciate Nigel Owens' breakdown of this moment, you have to recreate the sheer visceral confusion of the incident as it was experienced live.
Put shelf right there on the grass.
Exactly. Here are the facts. England prop Trevor Davison makes a high tackle on France's replacement, Joshua Brennan.
Right.
Now, under normal circumstances, a high tackle occurs, the referee immediately blows the whistle, and the game halts.
That's the standard expectation, yeah.
But the penalty wasn't given immediately. Play continued for a couple of phases before the whistle finally blew, and the penalty was awarded to France.
And look, a couple of phases might sound completely insignificant on paper, right?
Just a blip.
Right, maybe 10 or 15 seconds of clock time. But in test match rugby, a phase is an entire ecosystem of violence and strategy.
Oh, totally.
You have massive human beings colliding, clearing out rucks, realigning defensive walls, and scanning for space. It's intense.
Yeah.
So when you let the game flow through two massive collisions, and then suddenly halt proceedings for an infraction that happened 50 yards back up the pitch.
You sever that psychological link.
Exactly. You sever the link between the crime and the punishment.
And that is exactly where my video game lag analogy comes into play. The server caught up, and suddenly there's a penalty for a ghost tackle in the pass.
Wow, that's a great way to put it.
And that lag left everyone on the pitch completely muddled. I mean, it bred genuine aggression. We saw England captain Mauro Itoje end up tussling with a couple of French players in the immediate aftermath.
Yeah, things got really heated.
But he wasn't fighting because of the tackle. He was fighting because no one knew what the stoppage was actually for. The adrenaline was still pumping, the whistle blew late, and the players just reacted to the nearest opposition jersey.
Well, the confusion is totally understandable from the player's perspective. I mean, they're in the thick of it. But the reality of that lag comes down to the mechanics of the TMO sweeping protocol.
Right, the sweep it.
Yeah, the sweeping mechanism inherently creates dual timelines on the pitch. You have the physical timeline on the grass, where Nika Amashukuli is managing the immediate breakdown, ensuring players are onside, tracking the ball.
And then you have the digital timeline, right?
Exactly, the digital timeline up in the booth. The TMO is not just sitting idle waiting to be called upon. They're continuously scanning the wide-angle broadcast feeds.
So they are essentially auditing the game in real time, completely independent of the referee's immediate field of vision.
Spot on. When Davison made that high tackle on Brennan, Amashukli was likely screened by bodies or, his eyes were already darting to the next attacking pod.
Because he has to keep the game moving.
Right. The physical game flows on, but the TMO spots a suspicious contact in the background. Now, the sweeping protocol dictates a very specific high-stress workflow.
Oh, I can imagine.
The TMO has to ask the replay operator for an isolated angle, confirm the nature of the contact, determine if it meets the threshold for foul play, and then seamlessly interject into the on-field referee's earpiece.
All while making sure they don't interrupt a live, advantageous scoring opportunity, right?
Exactly. It's an incredible balancing act.
So Amashukli is trying to manage a brutal Six Nations ruck, and suddenly he has a voice in his ear telling him to halt the game for something he didn't even see.
Yeah.
It's no wonder it looks messy from the stands. I mean, the game is being refereed from two completely different dimensions.
It guarantees a certain level of pitch-side chaos in the short term. The fans are confused, the commentators are scrambling, and guys like Itoshi are getting into scuffles.
Because nobody knows what's happening.
Right. But that sweeping process is the ultimate safety net. It operates on a slight delay by necessity.
But the problem with that necessary delay is that it creates a massive vacuum of information in the stadium. I mean, the referee stops the game, awards a crucial penalty in the dying minutes of a tight match, and offers zero immediate context to the 80,000 people screaming in the stands.
Yeah, that's where the friction is.
And nature hates a vacuum, so the crowd and the millions watching at home instantly filled it with suspicion. It felt like the game was being manipulated.
It did feel that way to a lot of people.
And that level of toxicity requires an authoritative voice to cut through the noise post-match.
Which is exactly where Nigel Owens comes in.
Mm-hmm.
He provides that exact decompression chamber on Whistle Watch.
He really does.
He brings the undeniable perspective of a referee who has survived the exact pressure cooker Amashukli was in.
Yeah.
When Owens speaks on the mechanics of a delayed penalty, he isn't theorizing.
He's lived it.
He knows exactly what that earpiece sounds like when the crowd is just deafening.
And Owens actually admitted on the show that when he was watching the game live, he was initially caught in that same vacuum of confusion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He noted that he was watching the play unfold, the delayed whistle blew, and his first thought was, that's a big call to decide a game. I can't see what's wrong with it.
Wow. Even Nigel Owens missed it live.
Exactly. He recognized immediately that the TMO was sweeping and had interjected. But after going back and reviewing the isolated footage, Owens came to a definitive, unwavering conclusion.
Which was?
He stated clearly that the penalty was a massive, game-deciding call, but it was handled perfectly behind the scenes.
And the specific phrasing Owens uses is vital for understanding the baseline truth of the incident.
Yeah.
He said, and I quote, "The penalty is correct. That's the first thing. We do have a penalty. There's no doubt about that.
No doubt at all.
None." He followed it up by stating, "The outcome is totally correct. Fair play to the officials. It's a big call, but they've done the correct one."
Wow, that is pretty definitive. Now, really quick, if you are enjoying how we are breaking down these invisible layers of the game and pulling back the curtain on the officiating process, take a second right now to subscribe to Rugby Obsession.
Please do.
Your subscription tells us that you want more of these deep dives into the tactical and mechanical realities of the sport rather than just the surface-level shouting.
And looking past that surface-level shouting is the only way to realize why this particular delayed whistle is such a monumental positive for the sport.
A positive.
Yes, a positive. The outcome was correct, but look, the aesthetic of the call was undeniably messy. Yet, we should be celebrating this as a definitive triumph for player welfare.
Okay, wait, the aesthetic was terrible. It looked like the officials had just completely lost control of the narrative. So why is an ugly, delayed, confusing call a triumph?
Well, consider the environment. It is the final stages of a Six Nations finale, France and England.
Huge.
The stakes do not get much higher, and the physical exhaustion of the players is just at its absolute peak. The stadium noise is literally physically vibrating the pitch.
It's a cauldron.
Right. And in previous eras of rugby, the subconscious temptation for an officiating team would be to just let the game flow.
Right.
You don't want to be the referee who interrupts the dramatic climax of a championship match with a technicality from the booth.
That old cliche of letting the boys play, like the idea that the referee should just fade into the background when the game is on the line.
Exactly. Which is a really romantic idea until a player suffers a severe concussion.
Yeah, that's the reality check.
Despite that intense, almost overwhelming pressure to let the game reach a natural conclusion, the TMO and Amashukli successfully collaborated. They didn't bow to the momentum of the crowd.
They held their ground.
They did. They utilized the sweeping protocol exactly as it was intended. They scanned the background, identified a dangerous high tackle resulting in head contact, and they blew the whistle.
They actively prioritized the long-term safety of Joshua Brennan over the immediate entertainment value and flow of the match.
Exactly. It is definitive proof that the player welfare infrastructure holds up even in the most chaotic, high-pressure environments imaginable.
So the system caught the foul play, and the officials had the courage to enforce it. They got the decision 100% correct.
Yeah, they did.
But, this brings us to the most perplexing part of the entire incident. If the call was definitively factually correct, why was everyone in the stadium and watching on television so incredibly angry?
That is the big question.
Yeah.
And the anger stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of what a modern sporting event actually is.
Okay.
This moves our discussion away from the strict written laws of rugby and into the presentation and psychology of the sport.
And this is the exact pivot Nigel Owens made in his critique. I mean, he spent the first half of his analysis praising the decision, but he heavily criticized the communication breakdown that immediately followed it.
Yeah, the communication was lacking.
Big time. According to Owens, the broadcasters and the fans had extreme difficulty actually seeing the footage of the offense. The penalty was awarded, the game was fundamentally altered, but the visual evidence was completely missing in action.
Just absolutely.
Right. Owens noted the immediate post-match discussions, where people were demanding to know, why didn't they show that footage on the day, or where was that footage?
And Owens was very explicit about his own tactical approach to these moments. He stated that if he were standing in Amashukali's boots, he would have utilized the communication link differently.
How so?
He would have explicitly commanded the TMO, "Show me the head contact, please."
Interesting.
He wouldn't have asked for it just for his own clarification. He would have demanded it specifically so the broadcaster would push the replay onto the massive stadium screens and the global television feed.
I'm going to push back on Owens' philosophy here a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I am putting myself in the referee's shoes. Is a referee's job just to enforce the law of the game, or are they now expected to be like a theatrical director for the 80,000 fans in the stadium and the millions watching at home?
That's a fair question.
The referee has a trusted professional in the booth telling them it's head contact. They know they have the right call. Why on earth do they need to stop the game to curate a video presentation for the crowd?
Yeah.
Think about it like a teacher giving you a failing grade on a complex math test.
Okay.
They hand you the paper, there's a giant F on the front, but they don't show you the step-by-step breakdown of which equations you messed up.
I see where you're going with this.
You might absolutely deserve that failing grade. Your math might be completely wrong, but psychologically, you need to see the red ink on the page to accept the result. You need to see the proof to process the failure.
What's fascinating here is that your math test analogy perfectly captures the psychological reality that Owens is highlighting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He essentially unpacked his personal philosophy on the dual role of the modern referee. He said, and this is crucial, you have a duty to make the right decision. That's the first thing. But it does help with an explanation.
An explanation.
Right. He recognizes that enforcing the law is the baseline requirement, but managing the atmosphere, the emotional temperature of the players, and the psychology of the crowd. That is what separates a good referee from a great one.
So the red ink on the math test isn't just for the student's ego, it's an actual crowd control mechanism.
Exactly.
Owen said that putting the replay on the screen ticks all the boxes.
And let's break down what ticking those boxes actually achieves in the heat of a test match. First, it instantly proves the officials are factually correct.
Undeniably.
When you have a massive 40-foot screen showing a slow-motion replay of a shoulder making direct contact with a player's head, the debate just evaporates.
The math test comes back with the red ink clearly highlighting the error.
And the crowd cannot argue with the physics of the replay.
It completely transforms the penalty from a subjective opinion into an objective fact.
Second, and perhaps most crucially for the flow of the game, it instantly de-escalates player frustrations. Go back to Maro Itoje grabbing the French players.
Right, the scuffle.
He is operating on pure adrenaline and total ignorance of the delayed penalty. Owens pointed out that there were players all over the pitch throwing their hands up asking, what was that for?
Because they were suffering from the video game lag. They were punishing the French for a whistle they just didn't understand.
Precisely. But if Amashukali pauses and asks the TMO to put the footage on the big screen, the entire dynamic shifts.
Everything changes.
Itoji hears the whistle. He looks up at the 40-foot display. He sees his teammate Davison making illegal high contact, and the aggression instantly deflates.
Because he sees the red imp?
The tension dissipates because the players are given the context they need to accept the punishment. They might not like it, but they understand it.
And, the third box it ticks is fan engagement. When fans are left in the dark, watching a delayed penalty with zero visual explanation, they feel alienated.
They feel left out of the game.
They feel like the game is being decided by a secret committee in a dark, inaccessible room. Showing the footage brings everyone, the players, the coaching staff, the 80,000 people in the stands, into the judicial process of the game.
It creates transparency.
Exactly. They were completely correct on the law, as Owens noted, but because the footage wasn't shown, the global audience was left aggressively asking, where's the penalty?
The failure to show the work is what generated the controversy, not the penalty itself.
Right.
Owens made sure to reiterate his praise for the technical execution, saying, the penalty is correct, there's no doubt about that, and well done on the officials and the TMO for picking it up. They got the right decision, and that's the important thing.
The most important thing.
But the overarching lesson from this Six Nations finale is that in the hyper-analyzed modern era of sports, getting the decision right is only half the battle. Communicating the why of that decision to the public is the other half.
It's a PR job as much as an officiating job.
It really is. The technology is so advanced that it's catching infractions the human eye misses in real time. The sweeting is working flawlessly to protect players from head trauma. But the human element, the theatrical presentation and communication of that technology, is lagging desperately behind.
The officials got the grade right, but they forgot to show their work to the class, and the class rioted.
Exactly.
Getting the decision right is only half the battle. Which brings us directly to you listening to this deep dive right now. We want to hear your comments and your opinions on this core debate about the presentation of the sport.
We really do.
Do you agree with Nigel Owens? Should referees be mandated to use the big screens to explain their calls to the stadium and the TV audience to explicitly show the red ink on the test? Or do you think stopping the clock to curate a video presentation for the crowd ruins the momentum and slows the game down far too much?
It's a tough balance.
It is. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this debate regarding the balance between technological accuracy and game flow is only going to get louder as the TMO systems become more sophisticated.
And as you formulate your stance on that, I want to leave you with a much broader, somewhat unsettling concept to mull over regarding the future of the sport. Connect this entire situation back to the TMO's sweeping protocol, the reality that officials are now constantly analyzing play in the background and catching infractions several phases after they occur.
The video game lag.
Right. How might this permanent surveillance change the foundational psychology of rugby?
Oh, wow.
Will players and will we as fans ever truly be able to trust a spontaneous moment of brilliance on the pitch again? Or, knowing the TMO is always watching the past, will we always be holding our breath after every spectacular try, waiting for that delayed whistle?
That is dark.
Are we entering an era where we can no longer celebrate a brilliant play until we receive the TMO's invisible nod of approval?
That completely reframes how you watch a match, the invisible nod of approval. You really won't ever be able to just leap out of your seat and cheer without nervously glancing at the referee first, waiting to see if the server is going to lag and pull the play back.
The spontaneity of the celebration might be the price we pay for player safety.
Man, that is a heavy thought. Well, to make sure you never miss out on a nuanced discussions like this that totally change how you view the game, I am reminding you one last time to hit subscribe to Rugby Obsession.
Don't miss out.
And please, drop your thoughts on the big screen debate and the TMO's sweeping protocol in the comments below. We read them all and love seeing where you stand. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.